For decades, studying history meant memorizing endless lists of dates and dynastic names. But under the new educational frameworks, that method is obsolete. The updated exam standard mandates a 50% focus on competency and source-based assessment. You are no longer graded on mere factual recall, but on how well you analyze evidence. This requires thinking like a historian. That means extracting objective data from primary artifacts that were created with inherent biases. To evaluate ancient India, we rely on 3 datasets: epigraphy, numismatics, and textual traditions. Epigraphy studies stone and metal inscriptions. Numismatics analyzes coins. The core problem? These physical artifacts are severely degraded, and the surviving records were produced almost exclusively for the elite. Our objective is to take these 3 imperfect, broken datasets and synthesize them to reconstruct an accurate picture of historical reality. Mastering this triangulation method is the precise skill required to analyze early Indian history and conquer modern competency-based exams. This map shows the geographic baseline of the subcontinent in the 6th century BCE, fragmented into 16 distinct states. By the 4th century BCE, Magadha emerged as the dominant power due to its control over the strategic bottlenecks of the Ganges River network. Iron-tipped plowshares generated massive agricultural surpluses, while the riverine routes provided the cheap, convenient logistics Magadha needed to expand into a trans-regional empire. To project permanent political power over this expanding territory, the Mauryan state utilized epigraphy, carving their edicts directly into rock surfaces and pillars across the empire. These inscriptions remained unreadable until 1838, when an East India Company mint officer named James Prinsep finally deciphered the Ashokan Brahmi script. Translation revealed a clear anomaly. The emperor actively avoided using his actual name, Ashoka, on these massive public monuments. Instead, the text referred to the king as Devanampiya, a title translating to Beloved of the Gods. This was a deliberate function of statecraft. These inscriptions operated as strategic propaganda. They branded the landscape and enforced the emperor's policies of Dhamma, which legally mandated respect for elders and religious tolerance. However, state inscriptions selectively omit data. They record imperial victories and moral codes, but leave out routine agricultural practices and the lives of landless laborers. This is the definition of elite bias. The stones project the ruler's idealized vision of society rather than the lived reality of the population. Epigraphy successfully documents the intent of the state, but it fails to prove whether those policies reached the lower classes or generated actual economic health. To track actual economic velocity, we have to look at numismatics, the study of physical currency. The record begins with crude, punch-marked silver and copper, but soon evolves into highly sophisticated bilingual coins minted by Indo-Greek kings. These bilingual coins functioned as a linguistic bridge. By identifying the known Greek names of kings on one side, scholars were able to identify the corresponding characters in the unknown Kharosti script on the reverse. This 1st century gold coin issued by the Kushans represents the apex of ancient Indian numismatics due to its metallic purity. But coins are also state media. The authoritative stance and dress of the engraved king explicitly stamp political ideology onto the economy. The Kushans adopted the title Devaputra, meaning son of God. They engineered this divine legitimacy as a psychological tool to assert control over conquered populations. Because their origins were non-traditional, the Kushans physically reinforced this divine narrative by installing massive, godlike public statuary of themselves in regional shrines. Analyzing this currency also exposes a major historiographical debate. From the 6th century CE onwards, the volume of recovered gold coins drops sharply. Some historians theorize this drop indicates a massive economic crash tied to the collapse of the Western Roman Empire. Others argue that trade simply shifted laterally, moving into localized networks that didn't require high-purity gold. Coins map ruling class wealth and trade routes, but remain an elite metric that leaves the transactions of the masses undocumented. This is a palm leaf manuscript containing textual traditions. It is the crucial 3rd dataset required to capture the grassroots and marginalized populations missing from stones and coins. In 8th century South India, the Bhakti movement emerged as a localized mechanism for religious reform, focusing on intense personal devotion to achieve salvation. Over 7 centuries, this movement expanded northward, relying on artisans and women to orally transmit its philosophy. It divided into 2 branches: Saguna Bhakti, focusing on deities with physical attributes, and Nirguna Bhakti, the worship of an abstract, formless god. These texts record direct resistance to state power. In 12th century Karnataka, the Lingayat movement rejected official Brahmanical orthodoxy. They challenged caste pollution, questioned the theory of rebirth, and explicitly defied state-prescribed dharmashastras by ceremonially burying their dead rather than cremating them. Female devotional saints like Mirabai operated on their own terms. She abandoned royal decorum, surviving attempted poisoning, and forging a new social paradigm through poetry. Running parallel to Bhakti was the Sufi movement, which used physical practices like ecstatic trance states and chanting to bypass orthodox textual boundaries entirely. Within Sufism, factions split on power. The Suhrawardi order accepted grants and integrated into the Delhi Sultanate, while the Chishti order maintained strict political independence. Devotional literature documents the internal world of the subaltern, mapping the limits of state power by recording the specific communities that official edicts ignore. A complete historical reality emerges at the intersection of these 3 datasets. An Ashokan edict provides the state mandate, a Kushan gold coin reveals economic velocity, and a subaltern poem documents social reality. To successfully answer competency-based exam questions, you have to actively apply this mental framework. You must interrogate the sources, identify exactly who commissioned the evidence, define their specific bias, and recognize what populations remain hidden from the record. Executing this rigorous synthesis is what separates students who rely on rote memorization from those who can actually analyze data. Triangulating these sources guarantees exam success and provides the framework to analyze the multidimensional architecture of early India.